Now, it's the UK's longest commercial non-stop flight, lasting up to staggering 17 hours. But just how does it feel to be on a plane for so long?
Well, while you were sleeping, our travel editor Simon Calder was on board the first direct flight from the UK to Perth in Australia.
Oh,
and,
look!
And we can join him now. It looks
Jealous.
like, funnily enough, it's sunnier here. Just saying. So, OK, you were 17 hours on a plane. How was it?
Well, considering it wasn't that bad. Of course, it's completely unnatural to be sitting in 44K, which is the window seat, by the way, with no window. I didn't quite realise that. But, you know, you're sitting there. The main thing is, of course, to be really careful about your health, which means hydrating a lot, and they bring round water every hour or so, so that's quite easy. And then just walking around, making sure you're keeping fairly healthy. It's on a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which is supposed to be kinder on you. And I must say, the fact that, just think what you were doing yesterday lunchtime, 1:15, I was taking off from Heathrow. I've been here for 4 hours in lovely Perth, Western Australia. In fact, you can see the Wacker cricket ground because, of course, Australia is the home of fair play in cricket.
So tell me, is this the furthest flight sort of in one go that's ever been done? Is this the first?
No, it's not, but thank you for asking. So, in 1989, there was a publicity stunt, basically. Qantas flew a Boeing 747 all the way from Heathrow to Sydney non-stop. Trouble was, it didn't have any passengers on, and if you're an airline, that's a really good way to go bust. So this one's got a full load of passengers. It's not quite the longest flight in the world. For example, Doha to Auckland is 16 miles longer, but it's certainly the longest flight from the UK, and that's increased the previous record holder, which is Garuda going to Jakarta, by about 24%. So it's a real game changer. And look, the first time I went to Australia, I think I stopped in Zurich, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, Jakarta, Bali, and got there about 2.5 days later. So to be able to get here in 17 hours flat is absolutely marvellous.
So the Dreamliner, the 787, has been around for a while. So have they adapted the plane? How come we've suddenly got this ability?
Well, it's always kind of been there. What the trick is, without going too deep into airline economics, is, and this is the 787-9, which is a kind of advanced version. It's basically, can you get enough passengers in to pay the bills on something like this, where you're having to fly large tons of fuel around in order to carry the fuel for later in the journey. And they reckon that they've got it sorted out. Basically, down the pointy end, the business class bit, which looked absolutely terrific when I walked through it, if you can fill that up with business travellers paying £5,000 return, then us lot down the back are just ballast, basically, you know, if they can get a few pounds for us. Although I did pay quite a lot for this, £1,300 return, because I wanted to be on the first flight, and it was quite an occasion, a real sense of making aviation history, a day to remember.
So talking about all that extra fuel that's on board, does that mean that this is horrible for the environment, this flight?
Well, it would be much kinder in the for the environment if the plane stopped in, say, Mumbai in India, which is pretty much exactly halfway. Then you wouldn't need to carry so much fuel around. But of course, from the airline's point of view, it's incredibly competitive between here and the UK. So this route has just got amazing prices. In the next couple of months, you can pay under £700 return. And if you're going to compete against the Gulf-based carriers, then you've really got to come up with something special. And Qantas reckon they have done that. And there's no competition on non-stop flights to Australia for the time being. I talked to B8, they say they don't want to do it. And I'll tell you what, Qantas wants to do the big one, which is London-Sydney non-stop. That's going to be 3 hours even longer. I'm not sure if I'm going to sign up for that, because actually it's kind of on you. You get more used to the jet lag if you stop somewhere along the way. So if you stay in beautiful India or Thailand or Singapore for a couple of days, that helps you adjust to the jet lag, and it means that you can break up the journey. But look, families, there was a mother with 3 under 6 children there, and she said this is absolutely terrific. You got any idea what it's like stopping in the middle of the night? You have to go and walk around a duty-free shop for an hour or two while the plane gets refilled. She was really pleased. Anybody with mobility issues, of course, is going to really like this. It kind of shrinks the world. It expands our horizons.
All right, well, thank you very much
Thank you
indeed. That
for
answer
your
was
holiday.
nearly as long as the flight. The one thing to bear in mind is that I mean you rack up all the fuel, get the fuel ready to get you down there.
Yeah.
I mean you're hoping, I suppose, that there's sort of fair old bit left over, because if Perth happens to be closed, the nearest airfield is a military base 700 miles north.
Yeah, you better. Yeah.
Chucking that in.
Yeah, good fact, Schofield. Right.